Welcome to Monday Morning Coffee. May our God, the God of everything, grant you all grace and peace and mercy throughout this entire week. Now, today we're actually starting a 3-part mini-series on training to be a Christian. We aren't done with the Fruit of the Spirit study yet, and in fact, the very next series of lessons on that are some of the best we have done so far. But with the Olympics starting this week, I thought it was quite timely for us to do this study on training. Now, our verses for today are going to come from Hebrews chapter 12, beginning in verse number 1. If you will, turn with me there now. Hebrews 12:1. Therefore, since we have so great a cloud of witnesses surrounding us, let us also lay aside every encumbrance and the sin which so easily entangles us, and let us run with endurance the race that is set before us, fixing our eyes on Jesus, the author and perfecter of the faith, who for the joy set before him endured the cross, despising the shame, and he sat down at the right hand of the throne of God. The author of Hebrews is giving us some good advice that anyone who has gone through a serious training regimen knows. Now, some of you may have run a marathon before, or maybe you've competed in some sport at a serious level. And if you have, you know that there is a significant amount of training that goes into that. But that is not the topic of today's lesson. Today we're going to talk about instead what you have to give up to be a world-class athlete. When asked what it takes to become a world-class Olympic athlete, Steve Siebold, a former professional athlete and now a performance coach that has studied Olympic athletes over the years, said the following: "You give up a regular life. You are not going to live like a normal person." And then he went on to say that it is an extreme life. And that's exactly what I think Paul is telling us here. Now, in this passage from Hebrews chapter 12 that we just read from, we're told by the author that we are to lay aside every encumbrance and the sin which so easily entangles us. Now, an encumbrance is a burden or an impediment, something that gets in the way of us achieving what we need to achieve. And in this case, that would be something that keeps us from following God as we need to. But what is even worse in this passage is where it says that we should also lay aside the sin which so easily entangles us. That's actually worse than an encumbrance. In the case of sin, it's as if we are having a rope wrapped around our legs and yet still trying to run a race. How do we go about this? If we go back to the analogy of an Olympic world-class athlete, they have a focus that drives them. They have an end goal in mind that motivates their every action. This end goal pushes them even when the going gets tough, even when it hurts, even when a normal person would have long ago given up. This world-class Olympic athlete keeps pushing forward because they have this end goal, this possibility of a gold medal in mind, and that is what they're pushing toward. Now that, I believe, is what the author of Hebrews was telling us when they said that we should fix our eyes on Jesus. That's at the beginning of verse 2. Now, we can fix our eyes on Jesus, and that helps us to get through those encumbrances, those things that are slowing us down, those things that are entangling us and keeping us from reaching the goal. If our eyes are fixed upon Jesus, we're able to cast those encumbrances and that sin aside and run towards that gold medal, that goal, if you will. Now, next week, we're going to continue this study, and we're going to talk about the actual training that it takes to be a Christian. Now, just as I said a minute ago, the only way we achieve this is if our eyes are focused on Jesus. And that's what I pray for all of you this week, that your eyes will be focused on Jesus. Remember, the world is your mission field. Now go out and reflect Jesus into it.